Welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 2022 Dodge Challenger SRT Superstock. So this was introduced in the 2020 model year, and it was made to bridge the gap between the less powerful Hellcat Red Eye and the more powerful Demon. And so it does have a more powerful engine than the Hellcat Red Eye due to an increase in the red line. So it gains 100 RPM to have the red line now at 6,400 RPM. It's also got lightweight 18-inch wheels, drag radials, and drag optimized suspension. So quite a lot like the Demon, which is obviously a lot more focused towards being a drag racer than anything else. This is more in line with that as well, but just not quite as much because it does have less power at the end of the day, less torque, and also more in the way of weight on top of that. But still, this is by no means a underpowered car. As it's got a 6.2 litre supercharged V8 engine producing 807 horsepower and 707 pounds-feet of torque. So that's 10 horsepower more than the Red Eye, while 33 horsepower less than the Demon. So yeah, not quite a lot more than the Red Eye, but a fair decent amount less than the Demon, while also weighing a couple £100 more than that car at 4,441 pounds. So yeah, fair decent amount of weight in this car. It's one thing that's always confused me about these Challengers, is just how heavy they are, which yeah, is just kind of baffling really, because obviously it's not a four-door saloon car or a station wagon or even an SUV, and yet it weighs quite a bit more than you know, like your average saloon or station wagon, quite frankly, which is a surprise. But still, interior wise it's decent. Nothing massively spectacular, but you know, given that this is not long off before its final demise as a vehicle, it's looking okay. Got a decent amount of boot space, although not the widest entrance. I've always found these cars to look pretty good, but unfortunately they've never really been able to cash the checks that they've been showing off, because looks great, but it's never really performed all that brilliantly. I do like the new wheels that this has going on this compared to the other ones, although weirdly enough this has less braking performance than the Hellcat Red Eye, as it has only 4 pistons compared to the 6 pistons in the Red Eye for whatever reason, which is confusing when you consider that this is more powerful, quicker in terms of acceleration, and yet has less braking performance to slow down what is obviously a great deal of weight. The only body modification we can do on this is the front splitter, so you can change it to that. Not entirely sure why, it's just change the colour really, but yeah, there we go. That's the only body modification you can do on this car. Right, so let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. So with this being a drag focused vehicle, you'd expect it to accelerate really rather quite quickly and deal with any drag strip with ease, and yeah, it does. So let's see what it can do before we hit the speed camera, and then we'll get it around the track. So yeah, much like the Demon, it's no slouch in terms of straight line performance. No, it's not quite as quick as that car, because like I said, that does have more power, more torque, and less in the way of weight, but this is still hardly a slouch, as you can see. So 148 mile an hour there is pretty damn good when you consider how much this weighs. Now granted, obviously anything with more than 800 horsepower is hardly going to be slow, but this car could be a hell of a lot quicker if it didn't weigh quite as much. And again, like I said earlier, it really does baffle me why this car weighs as much as it does. I mean, what they're using, heaviest steel girders in the known universe to give this car its strength and rigidity. It just makes no sense whatsoever why this weighs more than your average saloon, when I don't even think it's even that much bigger than one, if at all. Right, yeah, well, there's those weak brakes coming into handy there. Slightly overshot my mark. Right, so let's look at the stats. So this is actually in a higher stat group than, class group than the normal Hellcat Challenger that we have on this game. It's also in a higher one than the Demon that is also in this game, as we are in low-end S1 class. It's not a massive margin, but the fact that we're actually slightly higher does speak volumes, although the stats themselves don't really justify the extra jump in class as far as I'm concerned, as yeah, the stats on the whole are not the greatest for an S-class car. I mean, you look at another class car from around this kind of level, you look at a Aston Martin for instance, which is 1 PI less, and yeah, that is in every margin outside of speed better than this car. Then you look at KTM Expo, every possibilities outside of speed, that is better than this. And even, you know, an Audi R8, pretty much everywhere is as good as, if not better. So yeah, kind of baffling that this is in S1 class, but still, stats are overall decent for a car of this type. Just don't think it quite justifies being in this high of a class. Guess the speed is the main thing, but yeah, I don't think that really overwhelms, you know, the somewhat middling stats of the rest of the car. But still, you know, it is where it is. So yeah, there we go. I guess if they had put it in A class, it might well have been too competitive. Whereas in S1 class it's going to be slightly less so. But nonetheless, let's see what this car sounds like, and we'll talk about it some more. So yeah, just like the Demon and the Hellcat, it sounds great, to be honest. There's no qualms at all with the noise that this car makes, either due to its V8 engine or the supercharged whine. It all just fits really rather nicely with the whole muscle car package. Acceleration wise is also not bad at all. 0 to 16 3.588 seconds, 0 to 107.087 seconds, and it goes to a top speed of 205 miles an hour. Now granted, that is not as quick as the Demon, which can do 0 to 16 in about 2.2 seconds and go to 207 miles an hour, but quite frankly that is still pretty damn good. And yeah, at the end of the day, this car was sold long after the Demon had actually ceased production, and there were a lot less of those than I believe of this version of the car. So even if you couldn't get the full fat Demon version, you still at the end of the day are able to get an 800 plus horsepower car, regardless of it not being quite as quick. So yeah, that is commendable that you can actually get such a vehicle like this in a more wide production, which is, yeah, obviously makes this a far more readily available car than the Demon ever will be, which I imagine also in terms of second-hand sales goes for a lot more than it ever did originally. But weirdly enough, I do actually find this car to be better handling than the Hellcat or the Demon. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's the suspension setup, the tyres or something, but yeah, I find this way more playful, way more easy to handle, and yeah, way more enjoyable to drive all on top of that. So yeah, this for my money is the best version of this Challenger in terms of these high-powered 700 plus horsepower versions. So yeah, really rather a good vehicle, and quite frankly it's the best high-performance version of the Challenger that we've ever had on the game before, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, really surprised by that being the case, quite frankly, for me, as I was expecting this just to be a slightly less powerful Demon and nothing else. But the fact that it's also you know, nearly as powerful while still being quick, but also crucially having a much better handling characteristics on its side, and also being more enjoyable to drive, is yeah, a major plus point. So this is currently in the current festival playlist for 20 points. It is, to all intents and purposes, the last new vehicle to be added to a Forza game in the Forza Horizon series so far, as yeah, we are getting one more vehicle added to the game via the festival playlist, but it's a car that we have had in previous Forza games, so this is going to be the last of the new vehicles added to this game that we've never had in a Forza game before, which is a shame. But yeah, all good things must come to an end, I guess. And yeah, it does at the end of the day mean that perhaps Forza Horizon 6 isn't far off. But given Playground Games have been working on the Fable game, I highly doubt we're going to see one this year. I imagine it will be until next year. So yeah, whether or not I continue with this game in with other videos, I don't know. I'll have to work it out in my own time. Maybe I'll do an update video and talk through it. But regardless, this is all likely the last new vehicle added to this game that hasn't been in the previous Forza game. So yeah, but nonetheless, thank you for watching, and I'll see you with the next one. Bye.